Like everyone else who's seen the movie, I love John Carpenter's The Thing. So when I found out the 2002 game was getting remastered, I couldn't wait to record my playthrough. Knowing nothing about the game, I was naively optimistic it would basically play out a situation as if we were in an alternate version of the movie, using social deduction and problem solving to figure out who was still human and who wasn't. Well, 8.6 hours of playtime later, one thing is clear. There's a The Thing game that we got, and a The Thing game that we don't have, but I need. I'm going to list all the dumb, frustrating, and poorly designed stuff in the game, while also giving ideas on how it could be done better in a new game. A major aspect of gameplay is commanding your squad of NPCs as you go about completing objectives. You can command them to follow you and stay put, as well as a third option called Go To, where you give them a location and they go to it. However, not once in my entire playthrough was there ever a location option available to select. The Go To wheel was permanently blank. What is the point of this feature if you never once get to use it? There's a temperature mechanic in the game. Being outside in the snow, you will see your coldness bar decrease. If it depletes completely, you then lose health and then die. I was under the impression that, of course, my squad must also suffer from the cold too, and many times, especially in the early levels, I made a huge effort to keep them inside, and even left them indoors and went out into the cold alone to avoid the hassle of babysitting them. While I'm walking around in the cold, maybe I should leave my team here, because I think they can die of hypothermia just as fast as I can, I reckon, so stay here. Multiple times, I even had to physically push them through doors into shelter because they wouldn't go in themselves. It's like when you're trying to put your cats outside and one of them, like you put one out and the other one runs in. It would be nice if on that Go To wheel there was an option, Seek Shelter, which of course commands all your teammates to go directly to the nearest indoor area. The two mechanics feel purpose-built for each other. But guess what? It turns out that your squad don't even suffer from the cold at all. They can be left out there forever and won't die. So what is the point? There was a moment very early in my playthrough where I did a head count on my squad and realised that one of them was missing. Where's the other guy? I immediately got excited, thinking that the NPC had wandered off on his own and was maybe assimilated now. Where's the other guy? Fuck. Maybe we'd go searching and find him, but he wouldn't be human anymore. I told my squad to stay inside in the warmth, and I went out into the snow looking for my teammate. And then my excitement instantly turned to frustration when I found out that the idiot NPC was just stuck on a platform and couldn't move off it. How do I get him to group stay? Group follow. Is he's glitched? Are you kidding me? I had to reload my save to get him back. Throughout the entire game, your squad mates simply don't matter. You know what? Fuck this guy. Can I?
What's wrong with you?
I don't care. You're useless.
Get away from me. You must be infected.
Right, we need to run. That guy was useless anyway. Doesn't matter. They all have the same voice lines and they act the same.
We got company.
We got some company.
We got company. We got company. We got company. We got company.
These guys aren't even going to try and join my team.
Company. We got company. We got company. We got company. We got.
They aren't characters, just tools you occasionally use to open certain doors. The only reason you need them is because the engineer class can access vital control panels that the player can't. In the movie, there's a scene where they perform blood tests to reveal who is a thing and who isn't. It's a tense and brilliant sequence because for every single blood sample that they burn, you're waiting for that jump scare revealing which one of them it is. In the game, you can jab yourself and your squad with a blood test hypo, which instantly reveals if the subject is still human or not. Blood tests are in scarce supply. You never have more than 2 or 3 in your inventory at a time. There's a note in one of the early areas saying that contact with a thing results in a 50 to 70% chance of infection. So anytime I came into contact with a thing, whether it attacked me, bumped into me, or vomited on me, I would be paranoid that I was now infected. Because that's how it's supposed to work. I just got vomited on. I might be a thing now as well. I would often waste blood test hypos on myself because the game wants you to think you can be infected. But, big surprise, you can't. Okay, I've definitely got some plot armor that I keep getting spewed on, keep getting blood on me, and I never get infected. The only reason to test yourself is because it increases the trust bar in the NPCs around you. I wasted a lot of blood test kits because of this. This mechanic in the 2002 game does make sense, I get it. If the player touched a thing and then was doomed to turn at some point, and there was nothing they could do about it, they would have to just reload the save, and there would be no way of uninfecting themselves. So it wouldn't work from a gameplay perspective. There's no way I'm not assimilated now. Okay, I just got vomited on like 5 times. But in a better game, imagine if you are not necessarily the main character. A game where you start off as just another member of the crew in an Arctic outpost. And if you get infected, you could do what Fuchs did in the movie and burn yourself to death to save the others. And then the player takes control of a different character. This would mean that not even the player is truly immune to infection. And then, for that iteration of the story, that is how that particular character died. Along with your large selection of weapons to choose from, you have a stun gun, a non-lethal alternative to killing other humans. I never once used it, because I was never in a situation where a human NPC posed a serious threat to me that mattered. They were either working for me, panicking temporarily, or waiting for me to build their trust. Completely pointless. In a better game, you could tase people, which would give you the reputation of using force, but also trying to keep everyone alive. If someone is threatening to hurt other members of the outpost or your team or whatever, you could tase them and tie their hands together or lock them in a room or something until they calm down. This would give the stun gun a purpose. On a side note, one absolutely pain in the ass function of the game is that equipping the stun gun is keybound to 1 by default, but also keybound to 1 is self-healing with a medkit from the item wheel. Let's heal. So let's say you're in an intense fight, you're taking damage and need to rapidly heal while also shooting enemies that are charging at you. Oh fucking, where's my gun, goddammit? Well, every single time you self-heal, your guy switches to the stun gun. Heal. No. Yeah, get the taser out. That's what I meant to do. Get the taser out. There were so many times I would heal and then left click to continue shooting, only for my idiot guy to point the fucking stun gun at them. Surely the playtesters of this game experienced this. Why did they not correct it? The stun gun. Every time I heal, my guy pulls out the stun gun. Why are these guys doing so much damage? 1. Taser. Yeah, that's what I meant to do. Get the taser out. To the game's credit, you can remap your keybinds, which completely resolves the issue. Another piece of borderline useless equipment is the adrenaline hypo, a syringe that you can administer to your stressed out teammates to quickly calm them down. A teammate will enter a panicked state if their stress bar gets too high. When panicking, teammates will run around aimlessly and be completely uncooperative. So you would think the adrenaline hypo would be a highly useful item. Problem is, 95% of the time, I would notice a teammate getting stressed out, pull out the adrenaline hypo, and then before I even have time to walk over to them, they have calmed themselves down.
All right.
Okay, so he was panicking, and now he's just decided to stop. There were only 2 instances when I got the chance to use the adrenaline hypo, but I'm convinced the first time the guy would have stopped panicking regardless, and the second time we walked into a blood-soaked room with a mutilated corpse hanging from the ceiling, and when my teammates started panicking, I accidentally used 2 adrenaline hypos at the same time. Can I finally use my adrenaline shot on this guy?
It's all right, I'm fine.
And then didn't lead him out of the horrific room, so he panicked again right away. Because I had already used both my hypos, I had to leave him alone in there and go on without him. That was my bad. I need this guy to just pull his shit together and just... oh, for fuck's sake. Dude. I gotta just go without him then, I guess. He's dead weight. Still though, for a game where NPC stress levels are a core mechanic, the adrenaline was underused and ultimately not worth taking up a spot in the item wheel. And then there are the flares. Throwing these things looks cool, but practically they are useless. There was one time in the game where I was lost and searching for the right building, alone out in the snow. I had picked a direction and committed to it, but was almost certain I was going the wrong way and my cold meter was not going to last long. I threw a couple flares out in front of me, and although I liked the subtle lighting effect, the light was so extremely dim that it didn't help in the slightest. The area of illumination and the brightness of the light itself is pitiful. For flares to be worth a spot in your item wheel, they should light up the surroundings in a huge radius. In this game, they're comparable to striking a match. Other than that one time, the flares sat in my item wheel gathering dust. Imagine the possibilities for light-based horror moments. There's that one bit in How to Train Your Dragon where they break open the dragon lair to see pitch darkness and then launch a flaming catapult shot into the hole, revealing hundreds of dragons covering the walls. That shit is so cool. Imagine something like that in this game. You enter an area, it is pitch black. All you have on you to find the exit is a load of flares, and each one bathes the entire area in light. Seeing a thing beast charging at you silently through the red light of a flare would be terrifying, but nothing like that ever happens. Even in that moment I mentioned earlier, out in the snow, running out of time, I liked being in that situation, but I wanted it more. I didn't actually have to throw any flares at all. Imagine a part where the blizzard is so intense that you can't see more than a few feet in front of you, and your only hope at finding the next shelter is to take a leap of faith, go stomping out into the snow with only flares to guide you. Did the idea of doing something like that even occur to the developers back in 2002? Same with the flashlight. I used it twice in the entire playthrough and didn't even need to at all. Torch. Finally, the torch comes in handy. Every area of the game is lit well enough that you don't need to use either of these items, ever. Do you feel like so far there's been a missed opportunity to have like a level where it's completely pitch black and all you've got is your torch and some flares? You like throw flares to see ahead and stuff. That would have been really cool. But by far, the most disappointing aspect of this game is that there are dozens of dead bodies littered throughout the levels, and save for a couple pretty lame and repetitive exceptions, none of it poses a threat to you at all. In the movie, it's made clear that as long as a body has any cellular activity at all, it can be assimilated. That's why they have to burn absolutely everything just to be sure. They take every piece of organic tissue that could be compromised, pile it up out in the snow, and burn it. There is a scene where some individual drops of blood on the floor start sliding around, because it doesn't matter how small a piece of the thing is, it is alive. So surely, in a game about the thing, part of the tension would be that any piece of organic matter, even if it appears to be dead, is a potential threat. You would think they would design moments where it turns out a body, or at least some part of it, isn't quite dead yet. Just in case. And it rises up and some gross tentacles or a giant mouth springs out of it and it attacks you. Nope, that never happens. Dead bodies in this game are dead bodies and that's it. The only exception is the occasional moment where some of these pain-in-the-ass, head crab-looking crawling mobs called scuttlers spring out of a dead body to be mowed down. But okay, surely if you burn the dead body first, that would prevent the scuttlers from spawning. It would be pretty easy to code, surely. If the dead body is hit with flames, the mob spawn can no longer be triggered. Nope, it happens regardless. Flames affect nothing. Burning dead bodies, just to be sure, affects nothing. And as you can probably guess, the many pools of blood soaking the levels also do nothing. Imagine in a new game, even if it was an action shooter like this, if a thing beast touches a pool of blood on the floor, that blood is now potentially assimilated and could at some point start bubbling and writhing, spreading across the floor and finding its way into the ventilation shafts or coming straight at the player. Imagine how gross it would be if you saw little coagulated strings of blood start vibrating and stretching out from the main pool, separating into new forms. Horrible. I want it now. The main issue with this, I reckon, is how smart the AI would have to be to sustain this kind of behavior from the thing even when the player isn't looking at it. But I reckon it's very possible. We have games like Alien Isolation from 10 years ago, with an enemy that is deadly because its AI is so sophisticated. This hypothetical new game would need the capacity to support multiple entities moving around the map with AI that is on that level. But it's possible, and if done right, would be one of the most beloved horror experiences in gaming history. Playing The Thing Remastered, I hated just walking past all these dead bodies, knowing nothing posed a threat to me. In a better game, it would be cool if you had to choose between spending the flame fuel to burn potentially dangerous organic matter on the spot, take the risk of dragging it outside into a pit and burning it on a fuel bonfire, like in the movie, or leaving it and just fleeing the area. No such decision making exists in this game. There was a moment where I opened up a locked room to find 2 human corpses laying inside. Out of one of the corpses burst a bunch of scuttlers, which I dealt with pretty easily. But then I read the message that was left on the computer terminal in that room. It tells of the experience of one of the dead guys in the room, how he locked himself in there to hide from the soldiers that were taking people away, and that he was not alone. With him was the new guy, who started acting aggressively, so he shot him in self-defense. The final sentence of the message read, "His body hasn't stopped twitching since yesterday." This was a brilliant little moment because it gave a backstory to these 2 bodies and made me instantly suspect one or both of them were infected. So without hesitating, I burned them both. But of course, despite the message left on the computer terminal, burning the bodies did nothing. They were never going to start moving around or attack me because, like all the other corpses, they are just corpses. The game provided this amazing setup for a special moment where a corpse comes to life, but did nothing with it, except those lousy scuttlers spawning from it, which had already happened multiple times. I wanted something more. Another chance at level design greatness was the part where I walked into a room with a large window overlooking 8 chambers connected with doors. And in front of the window was a control panel with 8 functioning buttons, one for each chamber. It was clear right away that each button opened a chamber door, and I had to be smart about how I went about doing this. Fair enough. But then, the game threw in a curveball with a computer terminal off to the side which mentioned an important detail. One specimen in particular, named B4, is resistant to flame weapons, and it is being kept in chamber 3. I immediately thought, right, because we took the time to read this information, we know that chamber 3 is a death trap, and because we can choose which cells to open, we need to not open chamber 3. This felt awesome. It was the game rewarding me for paying attention to the computer messages. So we don't want to open chamber 3. So now, all we have to do is go through the chambers and keep chamber 3 closed to win. Right? Wrong. This message means nothing. Do I need to open up 3? Yes, I do. You actually have to open chamber 3 to reach the objective, and inside chamber 3, it's just another generic thing beast that dies just as easily as all the others. Pointless. That computer message had no effect on the gameplay whatsoever. It was dumb. The majority of the combat in this game has the player fighting 2 enemy types, the crawling scuttlers and the slightly more formidable but predictable thing beasts. I like how with thing beasts, which take a few different but very samey forms, you can damage them with bullets but then must kill them with fire. Makes sense since in the movie the only way to kill the thing is to burn it. Good game design choice. But the scuttlers can be killed with bullets, even though they're the same organism as the thing beasts, just smaller. At the end of the day, they are just bullet fodder to keep the player busy with mindless combat while not costing valuable flamethrower fuel. They're not fun to fight, especially when you're 4+ hours in and getting a little sick and tired of shooting at your own feet constantly. I'd rather they weren't there at all, or more scarce and threatening. There were so many different forms the thing could have taken to make combat really intense and challenging in this game, and the devs just went for, make all the thing beasts just zombies that charge at you. In the movie, every time a character is assimilated, they turn into a very unique and memorable form of the thing. No 2 transformations are the same. In this game, every single assimilated person takes the exact same form, a zombie. That's it. At the end of the day, this is a third-person zombie shooter. And I haven't even mentioned yet the various moments where the game doesn't even try to stick to the core subject matter of the movie and starts throwing masked soldiers with guns at you.
Target acquired.
And of course you would think There could be some great moments where soldiers are assimilated, and just before they die, they burst open and a horrific monster is suddenly in your face. Nope, never happens once. Imagine if you use the sniper rifle and blow a soldier's head off, but instead of just falling over and dying, a bunch of spider legs or something protrudes from the neck stump. That would be epic. Nope, that belongs only in a better game that doesn't exist. The final gameplay segment of the final level before the boss fight doesn't even feature any things at all. You just advance through a linear snowy exterior, gunning down waves of soldiers. Like the devs just gave up on the whole point of the game entirely and thought, yeah, this'll do, who cares? And then the final boss fight is literally just every on-rails chopper gunner mission from every Call of Duty game ever. It resembles the final boss fight from Gears of War 2, so much more than anything from the Thing movie. In this game's defense though, I do acknowledge it predates even the first COD and Gears of War game, so I'm not trying to say it's copying them. Here's a question. What were the devs thinking when they added the multiple turret sections into the game? God, fuck. Yeah, that's what I want to do when playing a game based on John Carpenter's The Thing. I want to crouch behind boxes and slowly shoot at stationary ceiling-mounted turrets with my SMG. That was my favourite scene from the movie actually, when Childs did that. And these turrets don't even display any sign of taking damage from bullets whatsoever. Nice, found a little head glitch, little cheat there. No sparks from the bullet impacts, no sound cue that your bullets are hitting them, nothing. These things are so shit. Those are all the things that really bugged me about the game we got, but I don't want it to seem like I didn't enjoy it. There were quite a few exciting and funny moments here and there. Jesus. Oh, come on. Shit. Okay, I like this level design. I like how you don't have any guns, so all you can do is close doors. I even kind of liked the generic gunfights, despite the departure from the core of the movie. The first level was tense, exploring the American outpost from the movie, not knowing what the game had planned for me. I don't know how long the game is gonna wait until we see something. Like, how long is it gonna build the suspense for? Oh shit. So I need an engineer. Oh shit. It was fantastic, but as the 8.6 hours went on, it just became clear it wasn't anywhere near what a The Thing game could be. I do need to add, after all the criticising I've done on the lack of dynamic enemy behaviour and smart AI, I know that hardware and software in 2002 simply didn't have the capacity for it. When I first played this game, I was expecting the impossible, and I set myself up for disappointment, wanting it to be something it cannot be. But the entire point of this video is, it can be a reality now. So to conclude, here's a summary of my dream game with some added ideas I haven't mentioned yet. You play as one of 6 or 7 characters in an Arctic research outpost. Every outpost generates procedurally with a variety of different rooms that serve specific functions. And these rooms, or at least some of them, are connected by a network of air vents that allow Thing AI to escape from the flamethrowers of the humans and move around quickly out of sight from one room to another. Plus, there would be other landmarks detached from the main building. The helicopter, the shed, maybe a spaceship crash site, a tunnel entrance in the snow. When the game begins, the human AI start with some basic personality traits and relationships with each other. In the movie, before the Thing even gets involved, Palmer is already antagonizing Gary.
I was wondering when El Capitan was going to get a chance to use his pop gun.
Maybe 2 or 3 members already don't like each other at the start, but that can change throughout the course of the run. Members have crew roles to keep the station operating. Many are tied to specific rooms, and whatever role the game gives you, one of your first priorities is to do that job, while watching for any early signs of intruders into the base. When the Thing arrives, it could be in one or more of a variety of forms. There's the obvious one, the dog. The issue there is that the player might just cheese the game and flamethrower the dog instantly. Same goes for any newcomer to the base. Maybe it takes the form of a couple members of another outpost, driving a Bombardier ski dozer in search of shelter or emergency assistance. A player would probably just burn them too for the easy win. And by the way, yes, that's what that vehicle is called. I googled it for this video. To remedy the problem of players murdering any potential threats before the drama can even kick off, the game would make getting your hands on a weapon at the start difficult, so the player can't just run and grab a flamethrower to burn the dog because every other member of the outpost who sees it will think the player has gone mad. And perhaps the weapons are locked away in the armory, and only one of the other NPCs has the key. Perhaps the game starts after the newcomer has already arrived. The dog is already in the kennel, the stragglers from the other base are already being treated in the medbay. The strange finding under the snow has already been brought in and stored away. This means that killing the thing may not be as simple as burning the newcomer. It may have already spread and even infected another person. To make the game more dynamic and challenging, I reckon the player shouldn't start as the MacReady type character. You're not at the top of the hierarchy of command. You have to follow the orders of some other guy, and that guy has decided the kennel or the medbay or the storage room is off limits to everyone. The hierarchy of control might fluctuate as people lose trust in each other and turn against each other. Maybe the player chooses a time to make their play for the top position, grabbing a flamethrower or a shotgun and bossing the others around. Perhaps on that particular run of the game, the group decides they're going to get in the helicopter or the ski dozer and make a getaway. Will the player let them, go along with them, sabotage the vehicles so nobody can leave, burn the whole place down and everyone in it for the greater benefit of mankind? With enough variables, no two runs of the game would be the same. I reckon a single run might go for an hour or two, until either everyone is dead or the thing is destroyed. Back to the newcomers. There could even be a possibility of them being a red herring. The dog really is just a dog, so killing it would only have you marked as a psychopath and locked away in the shed like they did to Blair in the movie. And speaking of the thing itself, the possibilities for forms it can take are endless. They could program the thing in a way where its body is modular. Each segment of the body can deform and separate independently. Considering all the ways a game could go, it would be immensely replayable, and that's not even taking into consideration multiplayer. Imagine that, 6 or 7 players trapped in the outpost together, and when someone gets infected, maybe the game doesn't even tell them. It's just as much a shock to them when their head bursts open as it is to the human players they're about to eat. So that's it. Those are my thoughts. What we got was a third-person zombie shooter that had its nice moments but lacked any horror or even the core essence of what made the movie iconic. And what I want is a replayable retelling of the movie, where the way the player interacts with their companions shapes the way the story unfolds. Thanks for watching. Can you guys follow me out of the flames? They're fucked, aren't they? They're dead. Yep, great.